The town of Valewood sits hidden in a valley, tucked away from the rest of the world. Few know of its existence, and fewer still are willing to speak of it. Legends swirl around the small settlement, a place where time doesn't flow, where people never age, and the world outside is irrelevant. It is said that anyone who enters Valewood is never the same again, if they ever return at all. It was this very mystery that drew a team of scientists to the town. Led by a determined physicist, the team was on a mission to investigate the rumors. Was there truly a place where time stood still? And if so, what was its secret? Armed with their instruments and a sense of purpose, they ventured into Valewood, unaware that they were about to become a part of the paradox they sought to unravel. The team's journey to Valewood was long and arduous. The town was isolated, accessible only by a single winding road that cut through dense forests and misty mountains. After days of traveling, the scientists finally arrived at the town's outskirts. Valewood looked like any other quaint rural settlement. Wooden houses with thatched roofs lined cobblestone streets, and the air smelled of fresh pine and earth. But something was undeniably strange. As the scientists disembarked from their vehicles and set foot in Valewood, they noticed an eerie stillness in the air. No birds chirped, no wind blew, and the townspeople, few as they were, moved slowly, almost as if they were gliding through water. Time itself seemed to have a different texture here, a heaviness that made each step feel deliberate. The physicist, leading the team, pulled out their equipment, scanning the area for any temporal anomalies. The readings were bizarre, no fluctuation in time as expected. Time seemed frozen yet still functional, a paradox that should not have been possible. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Valewood was no ordinary town. The team was greeted by Elder Merrick, the town's unofficial leader. Merrick was an elderly man, though his precise age was impossible to guess. His eyes had a knowing glint, as though he had lived through centuries, though his body showed no signs of the frailty that usually came with age. He welcomed the scientists warmly, but with a faint trace of amusement. "So you've come to solve the mystery of our little town," Merrick said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Many have tried before, but Valewood does not give up its secrets so easily." The team pressed Merrick for information about the town's strange relationship with time. Merrick, however, offered few answers. "Time flows differently here, yes, but that is simply the way of things. We have learned not to question it," he said, as if the phenomenon was as natural as the changing of the seasons. One of the scientists asked how long Merrick had lived in Valewood. The elder paused for a moment, his expression unreadable. "I was born here," he said simply, but offered no further details. The ambiguity of his answer left the team uneasy. As they wandered through the town, the scientists noticed that the other residents shared a similar agelessness. Children played in the streets, their laughter echoing, but none of them seemed to grow older. The adults all looked as though they had stepped out of time, frozen in a perpetual present. The team soon realized that Valewood was not just outside of time, it was trapped in it. Determined to understand what was happening, the scientists set up their equipment around town. They began running tests, measuring the flow of time and energy. The data they collected was nothing short of astonishing. Time in Valewood wasn't just slowed, it was fragmented, existing in loops that folded back on themselves. It was as though the entire town existed within a bubble, cut off from the natural flow of the universe. Further analysis revealed that this effect wasn't random. There was a central point in the town, a source from which the time distortion seemed to emanate. The physicists theorized that something, or someone, was manipulating time, creating a localized pocket where the usual laws of physics didn't apply. As they tracked the anomaly, the team found themselves drawn to the heart of the town, an ancient clock tower standing tall in the center of Valewood. The clock's hands did not move. It had been frozen at precisely 3:17 for as long as anyone could remember. The team approached the clock tower cautiously, aware that this might be the key to understanding Valewood's paradox. The tower itself was an imposing structure, built of dark stone and covered in ivy. Inside, the air was cold, and a thick layer of dust coated every surface. The gears of the clock, once the heart of the town, were now silent, their intricate mechanisms frozen in time. As the scientists explored the interior, they discovered something unusual. Inscriptions on the walls, written in a language none of them recognized. The physicist, however, noticed a pattern in the symbols. After careful study, they realized that the inscriptions were mathematical formulas, equations that described the nature of time itself. At the center of the tower, beneath the frozen clock, they found a large, intricate device that appeared to be the source of the time anomaly. The device pulsed with a faint, rhythmic energy, almost as if it were alive. This was no ordinary extraordinary mechanism. It was a timekeeper, a relic from an ancient civilization capable of manipulating the flow of time. The physicist hypothesized that the timekeeper had been activated long ago, trapping the town in a perpetual loop. Whoever built it had long since vanished, but their creation remained, keeping Valewood locked in its ageless state. As the team examined the timekeeper, a disturbing thought began to form in their minds. If the device could control time, then perhaps it could be deactivated. They might be able to free Valewood from its temporal prison, restoring the natural flow of time to the town. But the consequences of such an action were unknown. The people of Valewood had lived in this bubble for centuries. If time suddenly resumed, what would happen to them? Would they age rapidly, catching up to the years they had lost? Or would the sudden change unravel their very existence? Elder Merrick appeared at the clock tower, as if sensing the scientist's dilemma. "You've found the heart of Valewood," he said quietly. "But before you act, you must understand the cost. We are not prisoners here. We are guardians of this time, protectors of a secret that must not be disturbed." The team pressed Merrick for more information, but he remained cryptic. He warned them that the timekeeper was not meant for human hands. It was a relic from a forgotten age, a device far beyond their understanding. Tampering with it could have catastrophic consequences, not just for Valewood, but for the entire world. Despite Merrick's warning, the physicist couldn't ignore the possibilities. If they could control time, even for a moment, they could change history, prevent disasters, or prolong life. The temptation was too great. The team debated the risks. Some argued that they had come too far to turn back now. Others were more cautious, fearing the unknown repercussions of meddling with time. In the end, it was the physicist who made the final decision. They activated the timekeeper. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the gears of the clock began to turn. The hands, frozen for centuries, ticked forward. 3:18. A single minute passed, and with it, the entire town of Valewood seemed to shudder. The stillness that had hung over the town was broken. The people, once frozen in time, began to move more fluidly, their expressions shifting as if they were waking from a long dream. But something was wrong. The children who had been playing in the streets began to cry out, clutching their heads as their bodies began to age rapidly. The adults staggered, their faces contorting in pain as decades of time crashed into them all at once. Even Elder Merrick collapsed to the ground, his body withering as he aged hundreds of years in mere moments. The physicist frantically tried to shut down the timekeeper, but it was too late. The paradox had been broken, and Valewood's unnatural existence was unraveling. The town, once outside of time, was collapsing under the weight of the years it had stolen. The team barely escaped the clock tower before it crumbled into dust. As they fled, the buildings of Valewood aged and decayed before their eyes, collapsing into ruins. The people, too, were aging at an impossible rate, their lifespans catching up with them in a matter of minutes. By the time the team reached the outskirts of the town, Valewood was gone, reduced to little more than rubble and dust, its people lost to the passage of time. The team had solved the mystery of Valewood, but at a terrible cost. They had broken the paradox, only to realize too late that some secrets are meant to remain hidden. As they left the valley, the scientists couldn't shake the feeling that time itself was watching them, waiting for its next victim.